Today I'm going to introduce you to a very special lady. Her name is Zorro and she's sat here next to me in the aviary. She's 33 years old, so she's the oldest bird that works with me. Coming up here. And she's basically in retirement now. Up. So she's 33 years old. She's the oldest bird that I work with, and I've had her for quite a few years now. She is now happily in retirement. So in captivity, we expect these guys to live around 40 years. So she's an older lady now, and today I've just got a bit of food with me just to keep her on camera really, otherwise she'll be wandering off and doing her own thing. There we are, sweet. In her older age, the only thing that I've really noticed that's any different is that she's lost the grip in her feet. So whereas when she was younger she had a lot more power in her feet, she's getting a bit arthritic basically, but otherwise her condition is absolutely stunning and she's never really changed. So striated caracaras have those lovely streaks down their neck and down their back and their chest, and that's really where they get their name from. These guys are also known as Johnny Rooks in the Falklands, and they come from the Falklands, from Chile and from Argentina. So they're another South American caracara. Interestingly, they have the most southern distribution of birds of prey across the world, which I think is absolutely incredible. Although they're found in different areas, they're well known in the Falklands, and that's really where most people think of these guys. They are actually protected under a law as well, so they are not allowed to be shot or trapped in any way without a license. So these guys have quite a lot of protection in the wild, which is really good. They also appear very tame in the wild because their inquisitiveness and their intelligence overrides their fear a lot of the time. So you find they actually have a bit of human interaction, and they are known for stealing things off people. You know, they'd be in your bag or in your tent stealing something if they could get away with it, because they're just intrigued by what things are, essentially to see if not their food. Now these guys are mainly opportunistic scavengers. So just like Kevin, who you've probably seen in the other video, she would spend most of her day running around on the floor, a bit like she's doing now. Come on up here. And she would basically be looking for any food that she can find. Thank you. She's very polite. They're also wonderfully acrobatic in flight, so although they can move around on the floor very well, especially on the coast where you see them catching all the updrafts on the side of the cliffs, they have an amazing ability to fly. They can reach speeds of about 60 kilometers an hour in flight, and they're very, very acrobatic. So they will lull you into a false sense of security that they don't want to fly, they don't need to, but when she was younger, she certainly had a pretty good ability to fly. So now, because she's retired, not so much. Young caracaras all learn off each other as well. So if Zorro was to watch another caracara solve a puzzle, or in the wild say lift up a rock, finds a bit of food, some insects underneath, she will copy that behaviour. It's cooperative learning. So they tend to stay in quite large groups because it helps them out. It makes life easier. So their conservation status is near threatened. However, they're quite common in captivity. So it's nice that we have that active captive stock. Should there ever be a problem, like many animals, it means that we've got that ability to hopefully help this species in the wild. So they can eat absolutely everything. They eat insects, worms, eggs, right through to scraps of meat and carrion that they find. They can occasionally hunt, but predominantly it's opportunistic scavenging. And you can see she's walking around in the background. She's got very little desire to go much of anywhere these days. Now she can fly, and she can fly in her aviary, and indeed she's got lots of different perches which allow her to move around and encourage her to move up as well, because she would quite happily stay low down if she's given the opportunity. But I think these birds are so understated. Although initially she looks like a big black bird, she's got these gorgeous tan trousers, she's got beautiful bright yellow feet, and then she's got that lovely stunning white band on her tail. So initially you look at these birds and you think it's just a big black bird, but actually there's so much more going on. Now she's really in a happy retirement. If I take her out of her aviary, she doesn't really want to do anything these days. I call her a slow Kevin, that's my nickname for her, because you let her out the aviary and she walks out and then she just looks at you, much like she's doing now to be honest, and she just says, you know, what do you want me to do today? Getting her to fly is next to impossible, and she doesn't really like sitting on people's gloves. So whereas you notice I handle a lot of birds on a leather glove or a gauntlet, for Zorro she likes to hang out near me, but she's not interested in going on me, and that's fine. They are super intelligent birds, and they really like to use their brains much like they do in the wild. So they could be digging around in the seaweed looking for food, they might be going into a seabird's nest and raiding an egg, they might be looking under rocks and under logs. So I want to encourage those behaviours out of her so that we can basically allow her to work her mental side. You know, the mental stimulation is as important as the physical side of things. For her, again, puzzles are really good. She absolutely loves food-based puzzles, as you can see, and those sort of things. Although in the wild she's not going to be playing games as such, the games ask her to do certain levels of problem solving, which reflects what she would do in the wild. They usually build their nests either on the ground or on cliff ledges, and they lay around 4 eggs, and it takes about a month for them to incubate those chicks. They are incredibly cute chicks as well. In the early 1900s, probably the biggest threat to these guys was actually sheep farmers, because they were threatening for their young livestock. You know, these are opportunistic raptors, and they certainly cause a lot of problems. However, due to protection on the Falklands Island, by the 1920s, their numbers had re-established really well. The other interesting thing is that these guys are only found on islands which have seabirds inhabiting as well. When Charles Darwin came across these guys, he was amazed at how tame they were and the fact that you could actually catch them with a hand net. So even in the wild, a bit like some parrot species, you know, they're incredibly social animals. They are absolutely full of personality. Even in her age, she does make me laugh a lot. She absolutely has her moments. She is pretty steady, as you can see. She's just nibbling bits of food off my fingers. But in her younger days, you know, they are absolutely full of characters. Younger caracaras have much duller plumage, and they have much paler streaking. And then when they come into adulthood, they get this glorious jet black plumage, and she's got such beautiful feather condition, and then that lovely band on her tail. She's coming round to see if she can find any food. She likes to nibble me as her way of saying, feed me some dinner. Their status is currently near threatened, and there's only around 500 wild breeding pairs that we know of, so their numbers are quite affected at the moment. However, our captive bred caracara numbers are good, and it's very reassuring for me to know that, because it means that if there came to a chance where we needed to reintroduce this species or give it some kind of support from the problems that they're facing, it means that we can dip into that captive stock and hopefully support those wild numbers once again. What I love more than anything about this bird is that I think it's just incredible how long she's lived. You know, I'm 30, she's 33, she's literally older than me, and I do wish you could talk to birds sometimes, because I would absolutely love to know what goes on in her brain. You know, she's seen it all, and she spends most of her days lying in the sun like a duck, watching the world go by, and I do wonder just what she thinks about.